definitely. To this day, are you still in contact with any of the basement members?
Oh, absolutely. I'm in regular communication with Devontae. As a matter of fact, we just got finished working on a huge project last November, December, and we're ponying back up to finish off that project early summer.
Okay, okay. Any of the artists at all?
You know what? Not too terribly much. I talk to Boogeyman every now and then.
Okay.
I have spoken with Susan just actually recently this year. I caught up with her on Facebook, but that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Susan, she's been such a blessing and a contribution to the blog as far as information goes, things of that sort. And we've been able to communicate with all types of different artists across the board related to Static, and it's just been a wonderful experience. And
Hmm.
just with them sharing their stories and how they felt about him, man, it's such a honor and a privilege. And they've got all their experiences with Static and how they took his passing. I wanted to ask you, where were you? Who were you with, and what was your very first reaction when you found out Static had passed?
I was actually with Devontae at the time, and
Hmm.
he called. I think I had stepped out somewhere, and I came back, and he said, "Did you know Static passed?" I said, "Man, quit playing." And so, nah, he said, "I'm serious." I said, "What do you mean he passed? The boy's absolutely healthy." And so, because D had done some work with him and spoken to him, he was speaking with him a lot more frequently, I think, than any of the other folks. I think maybe I've spoken with him since we left, maybe 4 times since everything broke off from the basement. But he was talking, and it was kind of like your stomach drop. It's like that feeling going down the roller coaster, and it just drops. And initially it's this, oh, is this a joke? Did it really happen? Kind of feeling, oh, this can't really be true. And then he started explaining, about all the things that went on with the doctors and, the mistakes that they made there. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. Because my first thought is, you got this wonderful young guy who's in the prime of everything that he's doing. Um, and then secondly, you just lose such a gem to this world because, like I say, outside of everything else, he was just an all-around awesome guy. I mean, for me, I remember my girlfriend at the time, but my wife, when we were there, he would always kick it with us and hang with us, and he Black and Jawan, they were always like these three little bad chipmunks, we call them, because they were just the clowns, man. I mean, you did not want to get in a session where you were trying to clown each other back and forth with them because they could go for hours
Oh
and just
man.
build off any little thing. I mean, he used to rock Boogeyman all the time. I remember one time he told Boogeyman, because Boogeyman's kind of got like a muscular build.
Uh-huh.
He said, he said, what you do, order the muscle suit without the strength because you weak, because they were wrestling. You must have got it in the mail.
Oh man.
But, yeah, they were just, I mean, they just lit up the place, man. They just lit up the place. But, when I start running back all the times of hanging and riding on the boat and, just general conversations, just kicking it on the bus or sitting around, like sometimes we sit around late at night and they, just start harmonizing and making up songs or singing old songs. That stuff you don't hear on the radio too much now. And he, would sit around and harmonize with Black and Jawan and, just sitting up, just kicking it for, a long time. Throughout the, wee hours of the night. And you remember those things and you think, man, I didn't get a chance to really talk to him. I hadn't talked to him in a while.
Yeah.
I'd have liked to at least have some communication recently, with at least within the last couple of months or so. But then he's just gone.
Yeah. Just all of
So
a sudden.
that's kind of how I felt. When it is like your stomach just drop and you think, is this true? Well, maybe he'll show back up. You're hoping there's a static sighting somewhere. Maybe he just dropped off and moved to Mexico or something. That's what you hope.
You
He's
know.
still alive somewhere. But it is what it is. Better place now, I guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Was there any piece of advice you'll never forget or a lesson you learned that you'll take with you for the rest of your life from being around or talking to Static?
The one thing that he emulated most that always sticks with me, and every time I think of him, I'll always get this, and that was he just emulated what it was to be a good friend and a good person before anything else. Nothing else came before that. He never got caught up in the hype of anything. He never got caught up in the hype of being on the scene or being in the industry or as prominent as it was in the industry, but just being real. And secondly, having a work ethic, that surpassed anything else, because to get anything in life, you're going to have to work for it. And he was willing to put in the work to do it, and he did it.
He sure did, man. We hear all these stories about, how much of a humble person he was. From his family to his friends to all the people who have collaborated with him. This blog has been such a blessing. I mean, of course, even with Tim Barnett, or Neezy as we call him.
Yeah.
Have you ever got a chance to meet him at all?
Not really, no.
I'm telling you, he's been such a major contribution and a blessing because, of course, he's provided us with different audio, video footage, different images of Static, so we could, just understand who he was, not only as an artist, but as a person. He's got so many stories he shared with us, and this blog has been such a resourceful thing in reaching out to people, learning a lot, not only about Static, but about relationships and how the industry goes. How have you got a chance to visit the blog frequently?
Not recently. When you initially told me about it, I did go there and check it out, and I was kind of feeling my way around on it, but I haven't been on it recently, no.
Okay. Now, one thing that we always like to ask people in interviews concerning Static is, what would you like to see done in the near future to help celebrate the memory and honor the legacy of Static Major?
Oh, I would like to see some of the things that he was working on, because I'm sure there are a number of things he was working on that never got finished, right, put out there, and distributed to the world, like i.e. like one of the some of the Bassment tracks that he did that never got out there, to show the well-roundedness of this young man from when he first started to where he is now. And, just to show the world that this was truly a gift and a gem that we lost, unnecessarily. It almost makes you mad and it surely frustrates you a bit.
Exactly.
But, to get his music out there, because it does have a message, it does have a place, and it does definitely have an impact that people need to hear and experience.
If Static were able to come back to life only for 5 minutes, what would you do and what would you tell him?
You know what I would tell him? Thank you for being who you are and for doing and for finding your place in this world. Because when people find their place, people like him, when you got somebody who's found their place in the world, that means that they've connected a link that needs to be connected so somebody else can do what they need to do. This man has impacted thousands of lives because he was doing what he was supposed to do. So I would say thank you to him for doing what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, you're so right. I mean, with him being he was just in his true element, and I think that's what a lot of people appreciate about him, and I think that's where a lot of people connected with him, because he was genuine, he was humble, and he really did change the music scene. I mean,
yeah.
I would like to say, if you had to choose between the whole era of music in the 90s as opposed to the 2000s, which would you say is better?
90s, for sure.
I agree.
90s for sure, because see, cats at that point were still writing real music. It wasn't somebody just sitting down with a couple of loops and just accidentally coming up on a beat and talking about they produced it. Nothing wrong with that. It's great, but you didn't really produce it. If you just punched a few buttons and put a few loops together, and that's it. These guys had to feel their way through these things. They actually played the music. They felt it. It came from their soul.
Yeah.
And so, that's why to me the music then, has a greater impact. For me, it just had more meaning to it. Not to say that there isn't any coming out now. There was just more of it then.
Yeah, more substance in it.
Yeah.